Imagine being at the very top of the world, running a billion-dollar empire, commanding respect, feared by rivals only to have it all slip away in a single night. Imagine the screens in your company turning black, the servers humming into silence, and the people who once bowed at your presence suddenly whispering about your downfall. That's exactly what happened at Stratton Technologies, a company once called the backbone of the future. But what no one knew was that the person who would decide its fate wasn't a billionaire, wasn't a board member, wasn't even a senior executive. It was the janitor's kid. Welcome to my channel Black Reflection, where we bring you stories of power, betrayal, mystery, and the unexpected twists life throws at us. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and stay till the end, because this story will leave you stunned. Asterisk, the clock struck 6:15 a.m. when Edward Stratton, CEO and founder of Stratton Technologies, rushed into the sleek marble lobby of his headquarters. He was still wearing last night's suit, creased tie undone, sweat marks visible around his collar. The man who had once been called the Iron CEO looked like he hadn't slept in days. That morning, he hadn't. At 2:47 a.m., Stratton's global operating system Orbisnet, used by governments, banks, and millions of corporations, had suddenly crashed without warning. Firewalls went down, databases evaporated, and encrypted files became unreachable. Panic spread like wildfire. By 3 a.m., Edward's phone was exploding with calls from ministers, partners, and furious billionaires whose money and secrets were tied to Orbisnet. And now, the lobby that usually greeted him with polite nods and respectful whispers was buzzing with fear and confusion. Employees rushed past each other, shouting about backups, servers, and unexplained code. Security officers whispered to each other, wondering if it was a cyber attack. Edward stormed past them, his polished shoes echoing sharply against the floor. His eyes were bloodshot, but his pride forced him to hold his chin high. "Get me Davis." "Now," he barked at his assistant. Davis was the company's chief technology officer, and Edward prayed that he had answers. But Edward didn't know that this was only the beginning of a mystery that would not only destroy his pride, but also force him to look at someone he had always ignored. Asterisk, the boardroom was suffocating. The executives of Stratton Technologies sat around the long obsidian table, their laptops open but useless, since every system they relied on was down. The digital clock on the wall ticked in cruel silence. Edward slammed his fist on the table. "Want to know who did this? Was it China? Was it those Russian hackers? Or was it one of our competitors?" His voice shook with fury, but beneath it, there was something more dangerous: fear. Cato Davis looked pale, adjusting his glasses nervously. "Sir, we don't know. It doesn't look like an external attack. The strange part is, the failure came from inside our own architecture. Almost like it was designed to self-destruct." The room went silent. "Designed," Edward hissed. "Are you saying one of our engineers planted this?" Davis swallowed hard. "I'm saying whoever did this knew the system better than any of us. And there's no trace of them in the logs. Almost as if they wanted us blind." Edward's pulse quickened. Stratton Technologies wasn't just a company, it was his life's work. And now it was slipping through his fingers like sand. Asterisk, while the executives upstairs panicked, far below in the basement corridors, a man in a gray janitor's uniform pushed his mop across the tiled floor. His name was Marcus Hill, a quiet black man who had worked at Stratton Technologies for 6 years. No one paid him much attention. Most executives didn't even know his name. To them, he was just another cleaner, invisible against the polished steel and glass. But Marcus wasn't alone that morning. At the far end of the corridor, waiting for his father to finish his shift, stood a boy, Jadin. Jadin was only 17 years old, tall and lanky, with curious eyes that never stopped scanning the world around him. His sneakers squeaked slightly on the floor, and in his hands he carried an old, battered laptop. J. Marcus whispered as he glanced around nervously. "I told you not to bring that thing here." But Jaden smirked. "Dad, you said their system crashed, right? I just want to see what kind of mess they're in. Maybe I can learn something." Marcus shook his head. He didn't understand computers much, but he knew one thing. Stratton Technologies was not the kind of place where curiosity was welcome. Employees disappeared after asking the wrong questions. Rumors whispered about Edward Stratton being more ruthless than anyone knew. "Son, you need to stay out of sight," Marcus warned. "These people, they don't see us. And trust me, it's better that way." But Jaden didn't reply. His eyes were fixed on the glowing screen of his laptop, where lines of code flickered like hidden language only he understood. Asterisk upstairs? Davis was explaining to the board that even their disaster recovery systems were failing. Every backup they tried to restore was corrupted. Every emergency failsafe had been erased. "It's as if the system knew what we'd try," he muttered. Edward leaned back, his jaw tightening. He had built his empire on controlling, knowing more than anyone else in the room. But right now, he was blind, desperate, and humiliated. His investors were threatening lawsuits. His reputation was crumbling, and then something happened. Davis froze mid-sentence, staring at his laptop. "Wait. I'm picking up something. It looks like someone is inside the system right now." The executives gasped. Edward shot forward. "Who can you trace them?" Davis's fingers flew across the keyboard, sweat dripping from his forehead. "It's not an attack. It's not foreign. Whoever it is, they're patching the system." I think he looked up. In shock. "I think they're trying to fix it." Edward's eyes narrowed. "Who has that kind of access?" Davis's voice trembled. "No one, sir. No one alive should know this code." Asterisk down in the basement, Jaden's fingers flew over his keyboard, his face glowing in the light of the screen. He had spotted weaknesses in Stratton's code-strange flaws, hidden like ghosts in the machine. He wasn't just fixing them. He was seeing things no outsider should ever see. Marcus, glancing over nervously, whispered, "Jay, what are you doing?" Jaden didn't look up. "Dad, whoever built this system, they left back doors, secret ones. Someone wanted this too. Fail. But I can hold it together. At least for now." Marcus's heart pounded. His son, his brilliant, secretive son, was walking straight into the jaws of a lion and upstairs. Edward Stratton was demanding to know who was in his system. Unaware that the answer was the janitor's kid, typing away in a dark corner of his building. Asterisk, the executives stared at the flickering graphs on Davis's screen, watching as Orbisnet slowly began to stabilize. Whispers spread around the room. "Who's doing this? Is it one of our engineers, or is it something else?" Edward's hands clenched into fists. "Find them. Whoever it is, bring them to me." But he had no idea. The trail would lead not to a rival company, not to a secret government agent, but to a boy in sneakers, with a battered laptop, standing in the shadows of his empire. The glow of Jaden's old laptop reflected in his eyes as he leaned against the basement wall, fingers flying across the keyboard. He had seen system crashes before in his coding experiments, but this wasn't ordinary. The flaws weren't natural. They were intentional sabotage. Like someone had planted bombs inside the code waiting to detonate. His father Marcus kept pacing. His mop bucket rattled every time he pushed it nervously. "Jay, I don't like this. If they catch you poking around, in their system, you and me, we're done here. They don't play fair." Jaden didn't look up. "Dad, if I stop now, their whole empire goes down. People will lose money, jobs, everything." And he paused, his voice sharpening.
"Oh.
"And whoever set this up is still out there, if I can find the fingerprints in the code. I can prove it." Marcus frowned. "Prove it to who?" "A man like Stratton doesn't listen to people like us. Son, in this building, we're invisible, and that's the safest way to be." But Jaden wasn't listening anymore. He was tracing something, a signature left behind in the collapse. His lips moved silently as he read it out loud. "Urs." He whispered, "Wait, that can't be." Asterisk. Upstairs, CTO Davis gasped. "I've got something. Activity is coming from inside the building. Not outside, not from another country. From here." The executives erupted into chatter. "Inside the building. Impossible. You mean one of our staff is doing this? Or a spy?" Edward Stratton's fists tightened against the obsidian table. "Which floor?" he demanded. Davis's face went pale. It's bouncing around our internal network. The source is cloaked, but if I had to guess, somewhere in the lower levels. Maintenance or storage areas. Edward's jaw set like iron. Send security. Lock down every floor if you have to. Whoever is in my system, I want them dragged upstairs in front of me. Asterisk, the echo of heavy boots filled the stairwells. Stratton's private security team dressed in black suits, earpieces buzzing spread out across the lower levels of the building. They checked storage rooms, utility closets, and surveillance dead zones. Marcus heard them before he saw them. The voices were sharp, commanding, military-like. His blood ran cold. "Jaden," he hissed, "close it down now." But Jaden didn't flinch. He was too deep in the code, his heart racing as he uncovered something terrifying. "Dad, this wasn't just about crashing the system." He was too deep in the code as his arms. He was too deep in the code, his heart racing as he uncovered some dot. His heart racing as he uncovered something's card. That dub, which is who. So, it's out. So, it is above us. So I said double. This, redouble I will. He pointed at the strings of code. It leads to hidden files. It's locked in a way I've never seen before. Someone hid things inside OrbisNet documents, accounts, transfers. His voice dropped. Secrets. Marcus's throat went dry. He didn't understand computers, but he understood danger. "Son, they're coming. If they catch you, digging in secrets, they'll bury us both." Footsteps echoed closer. Asterisk Edward stood at the glass wall of the boardroom, staring down at the city below. His empire was fragile now, and he hated it. He turned back to Davis. "You said they're fixing it. Are they stopping the collapse?" Davis nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. OrbisNet is stabilizing faster than we imagined. Whoever it is there, brilliant." Edward's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Good. Let them patch it. But when they're done, they'll belong to me. No one touches my empire without consequences." Asterisk. The sound of boots grew louder. Marcus grabbed Jaden by the shoulder. "We have to go now." Jaden snapped his laptop shut just as the corridor lit up with flashlights. A security officer's voice thundered, "Hey, you there? Stop." Marcus instinctively stepped in front of his son, shielding him. His voice shook but held firm. "I'm just a janitor. My kid was waiting for me. Didn't do nothing." But the officer's eyes narrowed on Jaden's laptop. "What's that?" Jaden clutched it tighter against his chest. "It's just mine, just a computer." The officer reached out, handed over. Jaden's pulse raced. If they saw what he had uncovered, the sabotage, the hidden files, they'd silence him forever. But before he could move, Marcus stepped forward, his jaw set. "You don't need that," Marcus said firmly. "It's just a boy's laptop." The officer hesitated, clearly under orders to bring someone in. His radio buzzed with a sharp command. "Secure the source. Bring them to the boardroom." The officer's grip tightened. "Both of you, move." Asterisk, the janitor and his son were marched through the polished halls, drawing stares from employees who had never seen Marcus except as a shadow with a mop. Now he and Jaden were being pushed toward the boardroom, like prisoners being led to judgment. Jaden's heart pounded not from fear for himself, but from what he had seen. Those hidden codes, those locked files, they meant something dark. Something even Edward Stratton might not want the world to know. When the doors to the boardroom swung open, silence fell. The executives stared in disbelief. A janitor and his kid here? Edward's eyes narrowed. He didn't recognize Marcus at first, but he didn't care. His gaze locked on Jaden, then on the laptop clutched in his hands. "Put them in the center," Edward ordered. Security shoved them forward. Marcus kept his chin low, but Jaden refused to look away. His young eyes, sharp and unafraid, met the CEO's cold stare. Edward smirked. "So, the ghost in my machine has a face, and it's boy. Asterisk, the room buzzed with whispers. Executives exchanged stunned looks. Davis muttered under his breath, "Impossible." Edward stepped closer, his expensive shoes clicking on the marble. "Tell me, boy, how did you get inside my system?" Jaden's voice shook, but not with fear, with fury. "I didn't break in. Saved it. Without me, your empire would already be gone." A ripple of shock went through the room. Edward laughed coldly. "Saved it? You're a janitor's kid. What could you possibly understand about Orbisnet?" Jaden held his laptop tighter. "More than you think. Enough to know your system wasn't hacked from outside. It was sabotaged. By someone in this very building." The room froze. Executives looked at each other nervously. Edward's smile faltered. His eyes darkened. "What did you say?" he asked quietly. Jaden's voice rose. "I found hidden files. Backdoors written into the code. Someone wanted this to happen. Someone wanted you to fail." The tension in the room snapped like glass. Asterisk Marcus finally spoke, his voice heavy with emotion. "Mr. Stratton, my son doesn't want trouble. He's just gifted with computers. He was trying to help." Edward's gaze didn't move from Jaden. Silence was louder than his anger. He was processing the word sabotage. "Hidden files, betrayal," Davis spoke cautiously. "Sir, if what he's saying is true, we should listen. He might have found something we missed." Edward turned slowly, his expression unreadable. The boardroom waited for his verdict, the air thick with dread. At last he said, "Then prove it. Show me." He gestured toward the massive conference. "Screen, plug it in. If you're lying, boy, you and your father will regret stepping into my building." Asterisk Jaden glanced at his father. Marcus's eyes were pleading. "Don't do it. Stay silent. Walk away." But Jaden knew there was no walking away. Not anymore. With trembling hands, he connected his old laptop to the conference system. The massive screen lit up, displaying lines of code that danced like fire across the glass wall. Executives leaned forward, whispering, "There it is. Those are internal signatures. He's not lying." Jaden's voice was steady. "Now see this, these aren't random errors. They're timed triggers. Someone built Orbisnet to collapse and they hid data behind it. Money transfers, encrypted files, things even your CTO didn't see. Whoever did this is sitting in this very room or works directly under you." The boardroom went silent. Every executive's face stiffened, eyes darting. Suspicion crawled. Across the table, like a living thing, Edward Stratton's gaze swept the room slowly. For the first time that morning, his arrogance cracked not into fear, but into something more dangerous. Raged asterisk, Edward leaned closer to Jaden, his voice low and venomous. "Then find them, dig them out, expose the traitor. Because if you're right, boy, you may have just saved my empire. And if you're wrong," his eyes flicked to Marcus, "you won't live to regret it." The lights of the code reflected off Jaden's face. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He had stepped into a game he didn't understand, one of power, betrayal, and secrets buried deep in the walls of Stratton Technologies. And the deeper he dug, the more he realized. This wasn't just sabotage. It was a conspiracy. The conference room was so silent that the hum of the air conditioning sounded deafening. All eyes were locked on the massive screen, where Jaden's battered laptop projected the secrets of Stratton. Technologies for everyone to see, lines of code shimmered like hidden fingerprints. Buried inside them were instructions no ordinary eye could have detected, time commands, concealed channels, encrypted vaults. They were traps. Jaden's voice, steady despite his pounding heart, broke the silence. "Whoever did this, they knew your system better than anyone else. They didn't want to destroy it completely, just long enough to cause chaos in to cover their tracks while they moved files. Money secrets." The executives shifted nervously. Some wiped sweat from their brows. Others avoided Edward Stratton's gaze, fearful that even a glance would mark them as guilty. Edward stood at the head of the table, his jaw like stone. His empire had been betrayed, and worse, by someone close. His voice, when it came, was low and dangerous. "Name them." Asterisk, Jaden swallowed hard. "I can't, not yet. Whoever did this didn't just plant bombs in the code. They left false trails, meant to point to the wrong people. But if I dig deeper, I can find their real identity. Edward's eyes narrowed. Then dig, right here, right now. Marcus stepped forward, his voice trembling. Mr. Stratton, with all respect, my son's just a kid, not your employee. You can't order him, Edward. Cut him off with a glare sharp enough to silence the room. Your son has touched what none of my so-called experts could. He's in my system. That makes him my not least until he finishes what he started. Marcus clenched his fists, but he didn't move. He knew one thing. Edward Stratton was not a man who made idle threats. Jaden took a deep breath and returned to the keyboard. His fingers hovered for a moment, then began typing furiously. Asterisk, the screen changed again. A labyrinth of directories unfolded, each one locked behind encrypted firewalls. Jaden bypassed them with startling ease, his instincts sharper than even Davis's polished expertise. This is it, Jaden whispered. The hidden vault. He cracked open one of the locks, and suddenly the room was filled with names, account numbers, offshore banks, and shadow transactions worth billions. Executives gasped audibly. Davis leaned forward, his face pale. These accounts, I've never seen them. These aren't company authorized. These are illegal. Jaden pointed to a pattern. See this chain? It loops back to someone with high-level clearance. This isn't some outside hacker. This is one of you. Every executive in the room stiffened. Edward's gaze swept across the table like a predator surveying prey. Which of you has been stealing from me? Asterisk one executive. A woman named Evelyn Ross, the chief financial officer, raised her voice carefully. Sir, I have no knowledge of these accounts. But if what this boy is saying is true, then someone at the very top of our financial structure had to authorize them. Another executive snapped. So you're blaming finance? No. Evelyn shot back. I'm saying, whoever it is knew exactly how to hide it from me and from all of us. The boardroom descended into chaos, voices clashing, accusations flying. For the first time, cracks in Stratton's seemingly unshakable empire were showing not from the outside, but from within. Edward slammed his hand against the table. Enough. The room went dead silent again. His eyes turned back to Jaden. Keep going. Show me more. Asterisk Marcus leaned close to his son, whispering urgently. Jay, stop this. These aren't just computer games. These are powerful people. If you expose the wrong one, Jaden whispered back, his voice trembling but firm. Dad, don't you see? That's the point. Whoever set this up wanted it. To crash so they could cover all this. If I don't show the truth, they'll blame us. They'll blame you. Marcus's chest tightened. His son was right. They were already outsiders, here easy scapegoats. But the deeper Jaden went, the more danger surrounded them. Asterisk, the code shifted again, and a name flickered briefly across the screen. Davis gasped. That's my clearance ID. Everyone turned on him. Edward's eyes blazed. Davis's hand shot up, trembling. No, swear, that's not me. Someone cloned my ID. They wanted it to look like me. Jaden typed quickly, tracing the trail. His eyes narrowed. He's telling the truth. Look, the code is rerouted. He forged his ID to throw suspicion. Davis nearly collapsed in relief, but his face was still white as chalk. Edward, however, wasn't relieved. He was more furious. They're in this room, he snarled, smiling in my face while they steal from me. Asterisk, Jaden opened another file. This one wasn't numbers or accounts. It was text, short, sharp commands, written in code. At the bottom, there was a signature. 3 simple letters, ERS. Jaden froze. He had seen them before. Before security dragged him up. Those 3 letters had flashed across his laptop like a ghost's whisper. Ers. Edward leaned forward, eyes narrowing. What is it? Jaden hesitated, then spoke. These initials. Whoever left this wanted someone to know. Or maybe they were careless. The executives exchanged nervous looks. None of them admitted recognition. Out. But Marcus noticed something. At the mention of those letters, Evelyn Ross, the CFO, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Her fingers gripped her pen just a little too tightly. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Edward turned away from the screen, his presence heavy like a storm. From this moment forward, no one leaves this building. Not until I have answers. Security will lock down every exit. Executives shifted uncomfortably, fear spreading like wildfire. They weren't colleagues anymore. They were suspects in a corporate crime that could topple an empire. Jaden's laptop continued humming, digging deeper, pulling secrets from the shadows. But every new line of code made him feel colder, like he was stepping into a world of monsters. Marcus stood silently at his son's side, torn between pride and dread. He had always told Jaden to keep his head down, to stay invisible in a world that didn't see them. But now, his son was shining brighter than anyone in the room, and that light painted a target on his back. Edward finally turned to Marcus. His eyes were calculating, dangerous. "You've worked here how long?" 6 years, Marcus said quietly. "And in those 6 years, you never once thought to tell me your boy could do this?" Marcus bristled. "Would you have listened? People like us, we clean your floors. You don't see us." A murmur swept through the room. No one had ever spoken to Edward Stratton like that. Edward studied Marcus for a long moment, then turned to Jaden. "Finish the job. Find me the traitor. Do that, and maybe, just maybe, you both walk out of here richer than you ever imagined." I'd met his gaze. "And if I don't?" Edward's smile was cold. "Then you'll learn what happens to people who betray me, even by accident." Jaden pressed forward. Each directory he opened revealed more corruption, secret contracts, bribes to government officials, off-the-book projects that hinted at something even darker than theft. It wasn't just about money. It was about power, influence, control. And then something strange happened. The screen glitched. For a split second, another presence flickered across the code. Not sabotage this time, but a watcher. Someone else was still inside, observing. Jaden's chest tightened. He wasn't alone. In the system, whoever had built the back doors was still here, he whispered, almost to himself. "They know I'm looking." The screen froze on a final message, appearing in red across the code. "Stop digging, or he dies." Gasps filled the boardroom. Marcus grabbed Jaden's shoulder, pulling him close, his voice breaking. "Jay, what have you gotten into?" Edward's eyes burned with fury. Someone inside his empire was taunting him, threatening the boy who had become both his tool and his liability. The room wasn't just filled with fear anymore. It was filled with war, and the true enemy had just revealed. The words glared across the massive screen in blood-red letters. "Stop digging, or he dies." The silence that followed was unbearable. Executives sat frozen, their faces pale. Even Edward Stratton, a man known for never showing fear, felt a chill crawl through his spine. Jaden stared at the message, his throat tight. He knew it wasn't just an empty threat. Whoever had planted the sabotage was watching him live inside the system. Close enough to know exactly what he was doing, and close enough to make the threat personal. Marcus instinctively pulled his son back, one arm shielding him. His voice cracked. "Mr. Stratton, that's enough. He's just a kid. We're done. We're walking out of here." Edward's cold laugh cut through the tension like a knife. "You don't walk out of my building until I say so." He turned back to the screen, his voice low but sharp. "They think they can scare me with words?" "No one threatens Edward Stratton." But beneath his steel tone, there was something darker. Rage. Jaden's laptop flickered again. A new line of code danced across the boardroom screen, this time in white, "You're too late." And then, almost instantly, the lights in the building dimmed. The hum of servers faltered. The entire room shook faintly, as if some hidden pulse was running through the system. Davis, the CTO, jumped to his feet. "They're inside everything. They've taken partial control of our backup servers. If they pull the plug completely, Orbisnet will collapse again. Edward's voice thundered, then stopped them. But Davis's shaking hands couldn't keep up. Whoever was on the other side of the system was 10 steps ahead. Every block Davis set up was instantly dismantled, like a chess master swatting pawns off the board. Jaden's eyes narrowed. He wasn't afraid now. He was angry. He stepped forward, fingers flying over the keys. "They're not shutting it down completely," he muttered. "They're toying with us, sending a message." Marcus's heart pounded as he watched. His son stand toe-to-toe with an invisible enemy that even billionaires couldn't stop. Asterisk. Edward's sharp gaze swept across the table of executives. "This isn't just some outsider. This is one of you, sitting here watching me laughing while they play games with my empire." The room erupted into chaos again. Fingers pointed, accusations flew, voices shook with fear and anger. But Edward wasn't just guessing. He studied people for a living. And now, his instincts screamed that the traitor was closer than anyone wanted to admit. His eyes narrowed on Evelyn Ross, the CFO. She hadn't spoken since the first accusations. Her hands trembled slightly, her jaw clenched. "Evelyn," Edward said slowly, "you seem nervous." Her head snapped up. "Nervous? We're all nervous, Edward. Or have you forgotten that your empire is falling apart?" The air tightened. Everyone knew Evelyn was bold, but to challenge Edward directly was dangerous. Marcus watched silently, piecing it together. He remembered her reaction when the initials Urs appeared. Evelyn Ross Stratton. Could it be? Asterisk on the screen, Jaden traced. A hidden tunnel in the code, a shadow path that bypassed the main system. His eyes widened. "This is it," he whispered. "The real control center. Whoever's behind this is using a private gateway. If I break through," Marcus grabbed his arm. "Jay, don't." But Jaden's jaw tightened. "Dad, I can't stop now. If I back off, they'll win. And if they win, we're the ones they'll blame." Edward leaned forward. "Do it." Jaden hesitated. He knew stepping through that gateway meant exposing himself fully to whoever was on the other side. It was like walking into a trap willingly. But he also knew he was the only one who could, with one final keystroke. The screen blinked, then the boardroom filled with a new image. Asterisk, it wasn't code anymore. It was a live video. A hidden camera. Somewhere deep within the building, the image was grainy, but clear enough to see. A dark office, blinds drawn, a single figure sitting at a desk. The face was hidden in shadow, but the silhouette was unmistakably, it was someone from Stratton Technologies. The voice that followed was distorted, mechanical, but laced with venom. "You should have listened. Now it's too late." Breath caught. "They're in this building." Edward slammed his fist against the table. "Show yourself, coward." The shadowy figure leaned forward, just enough for the light to catch a glint of hair, the outline of a face. Jaden froze. He recognized the posture, the way the figure sat, the confidence. It was Evelyn Ross. Asterisk gasps filled the boardroom.
Ellen
Sat at the table, her face pale, but her voice firm. "That's not me. That's a setup. They're trying to frame me." Edward's eyes burned into hers. ERS, the initials in the code, and now this. Evelyn stood, her voice rising. "Edward, use your head. If I wanted to take you down, would I be sitting here, or using me as a shield? Someone else planted this to make it look like me." Jaden studied her closely. He didn't want to believe she was guilty, not yet, but the signs were undeniable. Still, something about her desperation felt real. The feed cut to black, leaving only those haunting words across the screen again. "Trust the wrong one, and he dies." Asterisk Marcus finally snapped. His voice thundered louder than anyone expected. "Enough. You're all playing with lives like this is some kind of game. My son is just a boy. Doesn't belong in this nightmare. You want your traitor? Find them yourselves. We're leaving." He grabbed Jaden's arm, pulling him toward the door. But security blocked the exit instantly. Edward's voice was ice. "No one leaves until I have my traitor." Marcus's eyes flared with a mixture of fury and despair. "You'd hold us hostage after he saved your empire?" Edward didn't blink. "I don't trust anyone. Not even him. Especially not him. The tension cracked Marcus's heart in half. He'd always warned his son about men like Edward Powerful. Men who didn't see them as human, just tools or obstacles. And now they were trapped in his world. Jaden stayed quiet, his hands trembling on the laptop. He knew his father was right. They didn't belong here. They should run. But the system was still bleeding. The traitor was still inside. And if he walked away now, everything he had uncovered would vanish into silence. The guilty would walk, free. And he and his father would forever be the ones remembered as the scapegoats. He couldn't let that happen. His eyes hardened. He made a silent promise to himself. I will find the truth, no matter what it costs. The screen flickered one. Last time. A timer appeared, glowing in red dot 1 hour. Beneath it, the words, "Shutdown sequence initiated. Stop me if you can." The room erupted into chaos again. Davis shouted about system overrides, executives panicked, security scrambled, but Jaden didn't move. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, his face lit with determination. This wasn't just about saving Stratton Technologies anymore. It was about outsmarting the invisible traitor who had turned the company into a chessboard, and who had just made Jaden and his father pawns in their deadly game. Marcus squeezed his son's shoulder, whispering, his voice breaking. "Jay, please, don't get lost in this." Jaden whispered back, "Dad, I was born for this." The clock on the screen ticked down. 59 minutes and 59 seconds. 59 to 58. 59:57. In 1 hour, Stratton's empire would burn, unless a janitor's son could stop it. And as the seconds fell away, the shadow of betrayal thickened around them, all because even Jaden wasn't sure anymore who the real enemy was. The red countdown glowed across the boardroom wall. 59 minutes and 59 seconds. 59 to 58. 59 minutes and 57 seconds. Every tick felt like a hammer driving nails into the executives' chests. No one breathed normally. No one blinked. They all knew the truth. That timer reached 0. Stratton Technologies would collapse. Billions lost. Reputations destroyed. Maybe even lives. Jaden's small frame hunched over the laptop. The screen's glow casting shadows across his determined face. His father Marcus hovered behind him, torn between pride and terror. Edward Stratton paced the room like a lion in a cage, his voice low and venomous. "One of you put us here. One of you wants to watch me fall. And when I find out who he..." Didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Everyone understood. 45 minutes left, Davis whispered, sweat dripping from his temple as he typed furiously at his own console. But everything he threw at the virus was useless. Firewalls crumbled like sandcastles. Backup servers turned to stone. "It's not just code," Davis muttered. It's like they know us. Every move I make, they're already ahead of me." Jaden's voice was soft but steady, "'Cause they do." Everyone turned. To him, the one behind this, isn't just some hacker. They know OrbisNet from the inside. They know its patterns, its flaws, its DNA. That means... His eyes swept across the executives, catching each one in turn. The traitor has been here the whole time. Panic rippled like electricity across the boardroom. Executives looked at each other, some openly, some trying to hide their fear. Evelyn Ross sat rigid, her lips pressed tight, her eyes unreadable. Edward stopped pacing and turned to her again. "It was you." Evelyn slammed her palm on the table, standing tall. "I told you it isn't me. You've hated me for years, Edward. You've been waiting for a chance to push me out. But this..." She pointed to the timer. "This isn't my doing." "Someone is framing me," Edward sneered. "Convenient?" Evelyn snapped, her voice shaking. "I built half of this empire with you. And when you cut corners, I was the one who saved you. If I wanted you destroyed, Edward, you'd be ashes already." The room fell silent, and then Jaden spoke, telling the truth. All eyes shot to him. Jaden's hands moved quickly, pulling up the Shadow Gateway code again. He pointed to the strings of commands. "Look here. The signature isn't Evelyn's. It's someone copying her style. They're hiding behind her. Then who is it? Edward demanded. Jaden's brow furrowed. His fingers tapped fast, unraveling layers of false trails and broken paths. One by one, he stripped away the digital masks until a new set of initials burned bright on the screen. DW. The room froze. Everyone turned slowly toward Davis. The CTO, Asterix Davis, stood there, pale, shaking, but not with fear, with rage. So, finally found me, he whispered. Marcus's breath caught. Oh my God. Davis's voice rose, each word a dagger. Do you know what it's like to spend 15 years building something, only to watch a man like Edward take all the credit? Do you know what it's like to be invisible in the company you made possible? Edward snarled. You ungrateful snake. I gave you OrbisNet, Davis roared, slamming his fist on the table. I made it work when your golden vision was nothing but a dream. And how did you repay me? By stealing it. By calling it yours. By keeping me in the shadows while you built your empire on my back. His eyes burned with madness. So I took it back. Piece by piece. And when this clock hits 0, Edward, so does everything you own. The room was silent, but for the ticking timer. Edward lunged forward, but security restrained him. Shut it down, Davis. Shut it down right now, or you'll what? Davis sneered. Kill me, you can't stop it. I built this virus like I built your empire. It's perfect. Jaden's fingers flew across the keys. No system is perfect. Every wall has a crack. Davis's eyes flicked to him, and a twisted smile spread across his face. You, the janitor's brat, I underestimated you. Marcus stepped forward, fury in his eyes. Don't you dare talk to my son like that. Davis laughed darkly. You should be proud, Marcus. He's the only one here worth fearing. Jaden didn't look up. His voice was calm. If you're so confident, then why are you sweating? The words hit Davis like a slap. His composure cracked for a moment. Just enough for Jaden to dig deeper. 30 minutes. The timer blared. Jaden cracked through the virus's outer shell, unraveling. Lines of code Davis had designed to be unbreakable. The boy's mind worked like lightning, finding pathways no one else saw. Davis's eyes widened. You can't, as Jaden whispered. I can. Edward leaned forward, watching the boy with awe and desperation. For once, the billionaire had nothing to offer but silence. Marcus held his breath, his hand gripping his son's shoulder, praying, whispering, Come on, Jay. You've got this. The timer bled down. 20 o'clock. 1959. 1958. Davis's calm broke into fury. He lunged across the table, shoving security aside, reaching for Jaden's laptop. No, you won't steal this from me. Marcus tackled him midair, both men crashing to the ground. The boardroom exploded into chaos, shouts, security, fists, and fear. Jaden barely noticed. His world narrowed to code and countdown. He typed, furiously, sweat dripping, fingers trembling but sure. He wasn't just fighting Davis anymore. He was fighting the system itself, a labyrinth of traps and lies. And then he saw it. The flaw. The hidden keystone that held the virus together. Got you, he whispered. With one final keystroke, the screen flashed white. The timer froze at 0:05. Everyone held their breath. Then the virus shattered. The systems rebooted. OrbisNet flickered. Back to life, the boardroom erupted in stunned gasps and cries of relief. Edward staggered back into his chair, his face pale but his lips curling into something between a laugh and a sob. You did it. The boy actually did it. Marcus helped Jaden stand, his eyes wet with tears. You saved them, son. You saved us all. But Davis wasn't finished. With a wild scream, Davis broke free of security and lunged for Edward, a hidden blade flashing in his hand. Time slowed, Jaden shouted. Marcus moved, but before the blade could strike, Evelyn stepped between. Then the knife grazed her arm, and security swarmed Davis, dragging him to the ground. His screams echoed through the boardroom. You'll regret this? Without me, Stratton Technologies is nothing. Evelyn clutched her bleeding arm, her eyes blazing. And maybe it's better without you. Hours later, the boardroom was silent, except for the hum of restored systems. Davis was gone, dragged into custody. The executives whispered among themselves, shaken and broken. Edward stood before Marcus and Jaden. For the first time, his proud, cold voice softened. I misjudged you both. Marcus, your son saved my empire, and you raised him to do it. Marcus's eyes narrowed. We didn't do it for you. Jaden stepped forward, his voice steady, almost defiant. We did it because it was the right thing to do, but don't think for a second that makes you a hero. Edward froze, stunned that a boy dared to speak to him that way. But he didn't argue, because deep down, he knew Jaden was right. As Marcus and Jaden finally left the glass tower. The night air hit their faces like freedom. Marcus looked at his son, pride shining through his exhaustion. Jay, I don't know how you did it, but I've never been prouder. Jaden smiled faintly, his eyes still clouded with the weight of what he'd seen. It's not over, Dad. There will always be people like Davis, people like Stratton. But as long as we don't stop looking for the truth, they can't win. Behind them, the skyscraper glowed again, alive but scarred. Not purified. And in the shadows somewhere unseen, another pair of eyes watched the father and son walk away, silent, waiting, planning, because the game was never truly over.